we will emphasize the participation of the whole Mediterranean. So we will encourage more and more the participation as associated partners of institutions from the southern and eastern shores of the Mediterranean as well, which can join as associated partners. Progressing from everything that we have achieved in the 1420 period, and keeping in mind all the important targets that we have at Mediterranean and European and global level in terms of reduction of carbon emissions and making the area a more sustainable place to live. This is very much the ambition, still very much alive, because there's still a lot to do in terms of supporting the transition towards climate neutral and resilient society. Of course, through the actions, the partners, the projects that we will have in the new programming period will fight against impacts of global changes on the many resources that the Mediterranean enjoys. And of course, always keeping in mind, keeping at heart the sustainable growth of the territories and the well-being of the citizens. So this is the plan for the new phase. And in order to achieve this, of course, we as program will also work in cooperation with other programs, with other Interreg and also other EU initiatives. And we will make sure that we as program and the results of our projects align and contribute to the objectives of the EU Green Deal and the other strategies targeting environmental objectives, as well as the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Anything that goes in the same direction towards achieving these goals. And the novelty in this new programming period is the way we will structure this our action, and everything around achieving this ambition of the transition towards climate neutral and resilient society. In order to achieve this, and in order to ensure that the projects create concrete and manageable solutions, we have identified 4 missions. So before we had 8 thematic communities on 8 different topics, but in this new program, we will have 4 missions, and each of the projects will fit within one of these missions. And this is really to have an integrated approach of everything that a project can contribute in a wider perspective. Each project will have a part to play in achieving these missions. And so these are the 4 missions that we will have. And each mission will operate as a portfolio of actions addressing the same thematic issue. And in this way, projects, again, working together as a group, as a community, within the same mission, will have their results enhanced and maximized in terms of its potential for a wider reach to new territories. And so I'll show you briefly some examples of what will each of the missions contain. So the first one on innovation and innovative sustainable economy, with a specific focus on reinforcing, readapting the competitiveness of SMEs and local stakeholders in this changing economy, and helping be better prepared for future possible economic crisis and be more resilient in that way. The second question targets specifically risks linked to the environment and linked to human activities towards our environment. So it's really about boosting the territorial resilience in terms of climate change, mitigation and adaptation, in terms of protecting the territories and the ecosystems to mitigate these natural disasters and boost their resilience and thus reducing risk to human society. The third one, which I think you'll be interested to hear about, because this is, as I was saying in the introduction, um, grouping all the aspects of energy transition and sustainable development in general into making and promoting uh, living areas in the whole diversity that the Mediterranean has, with important urban areas as well as more remote and more rural territories, as well as islands. Um, this whole aspect is really to encourage this integrated vision of of the energy transition of the territories to ensure the quality of life of the Mediterranean. So in this mission, we expect to find some projects targeting solutions to support the integrated planning and financing of climate change adaptation and energy transition. So things that you have been working on in Compose and in the renewable energy thematic community, but as a whole, maybe something more encompassing of other issues as well. And finally, the transversal mission that we will have, tackling issues of the tourism sector and enhancing the sustainability of the tourism sector. So any aspects from circular economy to uh, different aspects linking natural resources and cultural heritage will, as long as it's involved with tourism sector, will belong to this mission. And practically how it will work, we will have two types of projects responding to two of the uh, thematic priorities of the program. Um, and one type will be the thematic project, which I will show you in a moment, and the governance project. Now, the governance project, we have already done the first call, and it's been closed at the beginning of June. And in this governance, the governance priority of the program, it's really about um, um, providing a structure for a stronger governance of the Mediterranean by having two types of projects. And each mission will have one thematic community, which is the continuation of the horizontal project, grouping projects belonging to the same mission together, finding the synergies, and making sure that the results of the of the mission will stand out and will have a wider reach and stronger potential. And we'll also have some institutional dialogue projects which will link at policy level the potential of these results to make sure that there is a common consensus on bringing those results to the front in the Mediterranean and also beyond the Mediterranean border. And now the thematic project, which will really be what we have called the modular project before. But each project will have one of these elements: studying, testing, and transferring. So as you will see, the really positive and successful experience of what you did with the Compose Plus project, we will emphasize that even more. So um, in the transfer projects, you will start with an existing solution or something that has already been developed in a previous project and transferring it to new territories with some enhancement, with some upgrading of the existing model, of course, but the aim is to reach new territories. And the strategic territorial project, which you can see as well here, which will be available in the coming years. It won't be for the first call, but this is combining study, test, and transfer, but targeting a specific type of territory of the Mediterranean. So this we will give you more details later. But for now, so as I said, each thematic project will contribute to the missions. And what's important to note for you is that we are about to open the first call for thematic projects. Um, Next week, we will have the first information session on the 23rd of June. It will be live from Cyprus. So those of you who have planned to go, perfect. Otherwise, it will be also broadcast and available as a hybrid event that you can join and take part online. And the call will be open following week, so the week of the 27th of June, and will be open until the end of October. So there will be plenty of opportunities for you to join in the new action and help us with new projects, hopefully reach these ambitious targets and missions. Once again, thank you very much for all the work that you have done in POSE. It's been a pleasure to work with you on these two projects, and I really hope that we can see each other again very soon, and enjoy Rome, and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Nicolas. Thank you also for your cooperation on the project. Now, before giving the floor to Stanka, I give the floor to Mr. Vito Borelli. He's the deputy head of the European Commission delegation to Italy. And we are very grateful that while we apologize again for the delay, which was due to the traffic coming back from the general audience by the Pope. Now, the colleagues listening to you are from Malta, Portugal, Greece, Croatia, Slovenia, and online the colleagues of Bosnia-Herzegovina. They are the only ones who could not make it physically this time, and of course Italy. They are the partner organizations of this project, Compose Plus. We will give you, let's say, the main result, which is a memorandum of understanding signed by a lot by now local authorities to support the European climate and energy targets at the local level. And then the Slovenian colleagues, who are the lead partner of this project, brought a present for you, maybe after the welcome remarks by Mr. Borelli. Please.
Thank you. Thank you already, but really a pleasure to be here, although for a brief time. Unfortunately, this morning I was busy on another event. I had already explained our friends from Kyoto Club that we are very often hosting in this place, and we are very happy to do that because they pursue the objectives which are fundamental for the European Union. But I was this morning at this event which is called Stati Generali, on the results of the Conference on the Future of Europe. You know that between 2021 and 2022, 9th of May 21 and 9th of May 22, the European citizens have had the possibility to participate in this very innovative exercise of participatory democracy by proposing ideas that could be transformed into legislative action from the European institutions. And they have been able to do that through an online platform where they could upload their ideas, or also through the organization of events with participants from every corner of life. In particular, young people who, of course, are the most interested in the future of Europe. And today in Rome, in the presence of the initiator of this initiative, which is the Undersecretary Amendola for European Affairs, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs Di Maio, and many other ministers were present this morning, just to take stock of these results. This exercise has allowed collecting 49 proposals that will now be assessed by the three institutions, the European Parliament, the Commission, and the Council, European Council, in order to transform them in legislative action. And this is very important because, also for you, I mean, because a great part of these proposals concern the environment, and they are very much related to the objective that the European Union has set for itself under the New Green Deal initiative. It's useless for me to repeat them. You know very well what the targets are, by when we expect to reach them. But what we are trying to do is to sensitize as much as possible our interlocutor from the political world, but also, and even more, from the civil society about the need to accelerate this process. You know very well that in the light of the current events of the war in Ukraine and also of the pandemic crisis, the need to reach this objective has become even more urgent. And some aspects of the green transition, like the the transition to renewable energies, has become particularly urgent now in light of the fact that our resources that normally came from some neighborhood countries have now, of course, become obsolete, or in any case must be substituted. So even more important to accelerate this transition to renewable energies and to diversify also the energetic flow. That being said, I'm very glad to have listened at least to one of the presentation of today, in which I could grab, in any case, the gist of your action of this Interreg project that puts together countries from the Mediterranean area. I think Mediterranean countries are well placed to be the forerunners of this revolution, of this transition, and so we very much appreciate the fact that today here in our premises you are able to progress in this activity that will hopefully lead us to a better situation in Europe and to a better achievement of those objectives that we have set together. So thank you very much, and good continuation of work.
Hello again, dear partners from the Compose Plus project. First, I would like to thank you to Kyoto Club, to Sergio and his team, working team, for a very nice surprise in the morning this day. It was really, how to say, unexpected visit on the Pope General audience. And we will remember that meeting, I think all of us. It was really a nice surprise, and thank you again, all of you. I would like also to thank you, all partners, to meet in personal way. We managed to see each other personal, physical way in Athens in April. And on the final event, only one partner from Bosnia and Herzegovina couldn't make it to be with us today. However, Bosnia and Herzegovina is with us online. So I will start with the first session. Before I will invite it all panelists. I would like also to inform you that we are a little bit behind the schedule, but you know we will manage to do everything on time. Maybe we will cut a little bit lunch time, so we will be on time on the end. Okay, we will start with the first session. So I invite the first panelist, Professor Lučka Kajfež-Bogataj. Also then I invite Ana Margarida Campbell from AVIPE from Portugal, please. And then Stavroula Tournaki from Technical University from Greece. And on the end, I invite Zoe J. Fletcher from Local Council Association from Malta. Okay, so we are all on the board now. The first session will start with Professor Lučka Kajfež-Bogataj from University of Ljubljana. Also, she's the member of EPCC. Professor Kajfež, how to say, follow us from the beginning. When we start and apply first project in partnership, she is our ambassador, and she is follow us also to give us a lot of suggestions and also updated information on the EU level, what is going on due to the climate change. So, Professor Lučka, the floor is yours.
I just thought that maybe, because it's the end of the period of your project, just to remember a bit what happened in the past, just to recapitulate where are we standing now. So I entitled this short presentation sort of a history and state of the play. For those who are younger, you probably are not aware when the policy, or sorry, where the European climate policy actually, when did it begin? I think it's good to remember this year, 1990. Before that, there was no climate policy. So it's about 32 years, and it was triggered by first IPCC report. And 32 years ago, already three main areas of policy, climate policy were identified. So it's reducing greenhouse gases, promoting renewable energy sources, and improving energy efficiency. So it's nothing new, but if we look at it at the context where we were in 1990, we can remember, it would be better to have a presentation, but anyway. We can see that at that time the temperature increase in Europe, global increase, was the order of magnitude half a degree. At that time when firm decisions were found. So the next step in the history was years between 92 and 93, where first actually research also programs were introduced, and I would just like to draw your attention to the targets at that times. So targets were not very ambitious. For instance, renewable energy sources were expected to provide 8% of energy supply in 2005, and there was a time when biofuels were really promoted, and it was supposed that share of the biofuels should be 5% in 2005. At that time, Europe was very optimistic because the results for Europe showed that emissions are declining fast. But why did these emissions decline? It was not because of climate change policies, but it was because of German reunification. You know, the Eastern Europe had the Eastern Germany has quite a lower emissions. And also, it was time of Margaret Thatcher's effects when she closed the coal mines. So it was not actually climate change policy, but it was a rather... so at that time, we had still this temperature increase around 1.6 degrees, 0.6 degrees, so it was not so much evident climate change itself. So then came the time of Kyoto. We are now actually enjoying the hospitality of Kyoto Club. So it was very important time for setting new goals. And there were 15 member states at the time in European Union when we had the Kyoto time. So they agreed for this period, 2008-2012, that we should reach overall reduction of 8% in emissions. And of course, when the Kyoto targets and the burden sharing agreement was approved, it was the first time became also a binding law. So 2004 is the year to remember where actually climate policy entered into the law, binding law. It took us a long time, like usually. So at that point, things begin to change. So we witness a rapid increase of temperature. So now, in 2000, beginning of the next millennia, it was clear that we will reach 1 degree increase very soon. So then, in 2007, new climate change policy arrived. Maybe you remember 2020, by 2020, so it was very catching slogan. At that time, targets actually increased, so it was like at least 20%. So it was a switch from 8% to 20%, but not just reduction of emissions, also share of renewable energy should reach 20%, and also savings in energy efficiency also 20% in 2020. I haven't seen real analysis did we achieve that goal, but it's just to refresh your memory. At that time, we almost reached 1 degree of warming. And then, then came the time of packages. So the packages, which became very popular afterwards, were introduced in 2009. And this package, we can see that there is still emission reduction, it's renewable energy still, it's also about energy efficiency, but we see some new components. So it was very clear in 2009 that we will be not able to stop using coal. So directive on carbon capture and storage came into the picture. And we still are talking about this as a final solution, especially after Ukraine crisis. So in 2009, we were there. We were at the temperature increase 1 degree. So if we move further, sorry, I don't have so much experience with this. So if we recuperate now how these targets actually went, so we went from in 1990 just the idea that we will have some policies, then 8%, 20%. So I will switch now to 2019, where we had these first ideas about climate neutrality. So neutrality means zero actually emissions, but not just, it's not like greenhouse gas neutrality, but climate neutrality. And now we have the idea about a package Fit for 55. So yes, our targets increase, and so should our actions. I was quite impressed by this Fit for 55 initiative, because it was really taking into account not just technologies, but also how people should change behavior, how actually we should also think about just transition, not just about, and they were very well thought how to do it. So it was a really good political paper or package. Unfortunately, last week in Strasbourg, you could see how everybody tries to water down this package. Yesterday, 10 countries, European countries, protested against what happened 10 days ago, like we should not do it. But anyway, what science says, now I'm talking like scientists, that we are not just over 1 degree, that we are fast approaching 1.5 degree, which was in Paris Agreement, that we should be even more ambitious. So the opinion of science is not to go to 55, but 65% by 2030. Why I'm saying this? Because it's huge pressure on different countries, and also this pressure ends up at local level, because you cannot do it on national level if you don't start at local level. But 65% in 8 years, we should say this morning to our Pope, are miracles still possible? Because I can't see it now, right now, that this can happen. But if we want to have any future, it is probably really the last time. So how are we doing Because it's one thing are the words, and another thing is reality, political reality. This is a very self-explanatory graph. All the countries in red are not doing anything. All those in green are really trying not just to lower emissions, but also they have already policies in place. So Europe, of course, we are Europe. So I'm showing this with a big sorrow in my heart because I'm coming from Slovenia, and from all Mediterranean countries, unfortunately, Slovenia is the worst performer, but we can say bravo to Portugal, who is present here, because this index comprises not just how much are we doing in the field of lowering emissions, but also are there climate change policy in place. Policies is something that is also important. So let me end up with this pessimistic actually news that greenhouse gas emissions are still growing. We thought that COVID might be a solution. Yes, they fell in 2020, but immediately after that, things are going back to normal. You can see the tourists in Rome. So it's like before, or even worse than before in a way. So people are now even traveling more abundantly. So yeah, we will have to change something very soon. The Glasgow outcome, actually, maybe I can share that with you as well. Some people who were in Glasgow and they came back home said it was a success because they were there probably psychologically, but actually in Glasgow it was bye-bye to 1.5. All that we can achieve now is 1.8 from scientific point of view, if we are optimistic and if things turn out as the best case. If not, we are already doomed to 2.7 degrees. And my last slide will be this one. We need to work on that as well. Technologies will not save the world. It's not time just to find new technology. It's actually how to trick our brain to action. And this is why social sciences are getting more and more involved and important. And I just hope that on a local level, the solution will be found sooner than on a global or state level. So I think Stanka will continue now from the same presentation. I can maybe help you, Stanka, with slides,
Okay.
and you
No,
can,
I will
or
start
you can.
with that.
Okay.
But before I will present it, maybe any questions, comments on the presentation of
Actually,
Lučka?
I was talking with people from Portugal, so maybe you can tell us how you did it.
Yeah.
Because I think this is important to hear from the winners, not the losers.
So, well, actually, I don't know if we are winners because this is an index, and an index is a formula. And what we have done in Portugal is that we have shut down our coal industry. Our coal ways to produce energy. So what was the idea? Was the idea to use the water coming from the dams to produce the hydroelectrical power. But what happened is that we are facing a drought, and we don't have water in the dams. So what was the good politics? To buy energy to Spain. So what's happening is that, okay, we are green, but we are struggling on an economical way. So this is, of course, we need to do much more for the environment, but I think we have to do it in a logical way, in a way to look to the future and a sustainable way. And sustainable also means economical way. So I don't know if we're really winners, but at least we are on the green.
Then I will continue with my presentation. I would like to share with you information how we develop Compost Plus. Compost Plus project is a logical successor of two previous projects. We started with Green Partnership in 2000. it was 2013, yes. And then we started and follow up our project with project almost the same. Project consortium with Compose started in 2016, on the end of 2016. So what, oh, sorry. If I explain you something about Green Partnership, we join with the partners and we recognize the opportunity how to increase the share of renewable energy sources and energy efficiency sector in Mediterranean regions on local and regional location. And also we take full advantages of the technological aspects and the potential of social and economic development. Sorry, I will learn. And we try to give the new dimensions based on experiences, knowledge, best practices, stakeholders, all stakeholders, policymakers, public, NGOs, experts. New dimension in achieving know-how, expertise, good practices, examples, methods, plans, business development, which can be transferable among Mediterranean region, also European regions, also in other regions, not only on European level. And the main results of Green Partnership was step-by-step guide. When we establish a platform, first platform export working groups we establish, then we start to develop local action group with all relevant target groups, stakeholders, prepare it capacity for planning, implementation of renewable energy sources and energy efficiency project. And on the last step, we upgraded the Green Partnership approach and summarized this in step-by-step guide. This step-by-step guide was translated in all languages of partners, and we try to transfer, or what to say, a problem is opportunity. Is opportunity, and we started with challenge, answer with steps, 8 steps, which is, maybe now it's not so visible. First step was choosing the problem, then creating local action groups, local action plan were prepared for each partner's pilot regions. We, on 4th step, empower policies and local skills, creating local partnerships, implementing a procedure through pilot cases, monitored and evaluate, and on the end, we disseminate results, awareness raising, prepare and made awareness raising events, a lot of them. We prepare also communication and dissemination plan, also implemented it. Step-by-step guide, it is existing, it is translated, like I already mentioned, in all partners' languages, and this is basis for our next project, Compose project, which builds energy communities. This is so important. And it is based on our existing experiences, like I said, all practices, know-how, and with projects, also founded project, and provides a new holistic approach. New holistic approach for renewable energy sources planning and to promote and to increase the share of renewable energy sources in energy mix. We also try to build energy communities by developing sustainable energy supply chain and exchanging local business. And what is also very interesting, we implementing 15 demonstration actions in 11 Mediterranean regions: Slovenia, Cyprus, France, Greece, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Croatia, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro. Our main output, or we can say results of the Compose, it was Compose Toolbox. Compose Toolbox lead the way to low carbon future and navigates the Compose step-by-step bottom-up approach. What is very important, local people need to be in line of planning procedure, need to feel it. Otherwise, we will not increase the share of renewable energy sources. We will not win. And this bottom-up approach of Compose methodological approach is for designing, planning, implementing, and evaluating sustainable energy projects. Yes, and then, you know, it happens in 2021, when the Compose Plus was approved. So we are talking about the third generation of our project stories. This is the picture from Sesimbra. And it was really nice picture, very spontaneous made it. When we were on the beach, Orlando from ENA, from Portugal, a partner said, maybe we can do family picture. And then I say, okay, then we need to write Compose in the sand. And this was, I think, the most beautiful picture, and I always present it. All projects need to be also managed and implemented spontaneous with good ideas and with good project consortium partners. And I think we did it because we are on the end of our project, Compose Plus. We did it very good. Later on, Sergio will inform you about the main results of the Compose Plus. What is the Compose Plus? How we started? We started with analyze and mobilization, then the phase 2, developing training materials and delivering training to receiving partners for Compose tool adaptation. The main output of the project, it is Compose Plus Memorandum of Understanding. More about it, the content, will be presented by Kyoto Club later on. I would like to say you that we already gained the target or the numbers of planned signed Memorandum of Understanding, even more. We have it much more than we expect. And I would like to thank you on the end, all of you, that you are so efficient and to do your work, especially partners in receiving partners, to support us with signing the Memorandum of Understanding. That is from my side. Thank you again for your cooperation.
Well,
Let me just tell you what is AVIP. We are the Portuguese partners of Compose Plus. We didn't participate on the first project, on the Compose, although we had some actions with Anna, so that it was not new for us when we enter to Compose Plus, because we have already participated in some actions with Anna in the first stage. Well, AVIP is a Wine Grape Growers Association in Portugal, near Lisbon, for about 30 kilometers south from Lisbon. It's near the coast. And our main job is to give technical support to farmers, to viticultures. And we have a long experience in integrated pest management, training courses, sustainable use of the plant protection products, all of that. So we are very good and very well implemented on the field, and we have a good relation with the farmers. In the last years, we became to have some European projects. By this time, we are in 5 European projects. Compose Plus is one of them. And it gives us the opportunity to have a demo farm where we could implement some ideas, do lots of trials that we consider it's really important to show to the farmers that some new ways of production, some new ideas could really be implemented. But for them to believe in that, they need to see it. So it's really important to have this opportunity and to do that. One of the European projects that we have, it's about decarbonization, which is red wine. I'm just talking about that because I think it's important. The main objective of the project is to capture CO2 from the fermentation of wine, and those CO2 will feed algae, and those algae will have several finalities like cosmetic industry, biostimulants, cosmetic, food products, all of that. So in Compose Plus, this is something that we were already talking with our farmers, and they have the idea that they need really to be more energy efficiency. We have done some local capacity building activities. We are going to have more two in the next days, so one in the next week and the other one in the 30th of June. And as I was talking, they are aware of this necessity, but we have been struggling with some difficulties. We have some problems with legislation and regulatory issues. We are a seasonal activity. If we are talking about vineyards and how to irrigate them and to use solar panels, for example, with the pumps for the irrigation, we irrigate our vineyards for 3-4 months. To install solar panels, you need lots of space to fit those pumps, and you need space, and you need to do some investments. The farmers could get some financial help to those investments, but even though it's a great amount of money and it's not very it's not very advantage to the farmers if they use the energy for 3-4 months to irrigate and then to put it on the electric grid. The state pays really less money. It's really cheap, the money that they pay to someone that puts the energy in the grid. So it's not a very good way to do those things. So the lack of space to the solar panels are a problem too, because they have their vineyards close to the other ones. They have not very space at disposal to do that. And they are really not aware of how they really could be energy efficiency. So that's a problem too. There's a robbery concern because there have been some robberies with the solar panels too. But these kind of projects and compose, it's really being important to create this awareness, and it's really important to communicate because even with this war, they are really aware that they need to change their mind and be more energy efficiency. But we are still struggling with some constraints, and we are trying. We believe we'll get there, but I think it's really a long way yet to do that. Those 4 entities that sign our memo, the first one that we have here is Peninsula Setúbal Wine Region Local Authority. It's the one that it's in the wine sector. The other one, it's ADREPS. It's our local action group. They have some words to say about the financial to the farmers. We had Portuguese Agriculture Ministry representative from our region too, and ENE, that you already know, which is a regional agency for energy and environmental. All these entities have a big role to do in this subject too. If you need to know anything else about our experience, feel free to ask.
On one conference, and it was a lot of talk how to use the space for agro-photovoltaics, so that you have grapes and put solar panels above that. So you use the same place, but it's not optimal. Are such solutions really possible, or is it just...
I don't know. I've saw that too, not in a real way, but I'm curious about it. I think the machine could be a problem. The grapes need to capture sun too, so I don't know how that's going to be possible, but it's an idea. In our region, we have one of the big damage that we have is sunburn, so that could be a good solution too. But I really don't know if it's going to be possible. I would like to, because in Portugal now we have lots of hectares, good hectares, arable land, that it's being used for solar panels and with no other use.
Just some additional thoughts. It should be, we should have experiments very
Yeah.
soon, because some say it's also good for the hail protection. It's also good for the water balance, because evapotranspiration
Yes,
is a
I
bit
believe so.
lower, and at the same time you produce energy. And it's also, the experts say it's also acceptable, because people don't want to use land for solar panels, but this is already used, so you can have W. So we should try it, I guess.
Yes, I hope so.
Hello, everybody. So after the lunch break, we continue with a composed toolbox. First of all, I would like to congratulate Kyoto Club. We are very grateful that we are here today, and thank you for organizing these two inspiring days for our composed projects. So thank you, Sergio, thank you, Genio, and the whole Kyoto Club tool. Now we will share some of our experience working with the Compose Plus and Compose projects and delivering the Compose web tool, working with local authorities and other stakeholders during those years. If I manage to go further to the presentation. Okay. So during this morning, our speakers discuss a lot about the European policies and broadly about the global challenges that we face, also the current dynamic and very ambitious strategies that are aiming to turn the Europe, the first climate neutral continent, and in parallel also to build resource efficiency and competitive economies, and mainly to now in most recently the idea is how to have our local communities more resilient in crisis, not only crisis of health, that was very recent, but also energy crisis and social crisis that are we face today. So there are a lot of supporting mechanisms to go through this, and as it comes to Compose Plus, our targets in renewable energy and energy efficiency becomes more and more efficient, more and more ambitious. And more recently, the Repower EU has changed the previous targets from 36 to 39% energy efficiency, and from 40 renewable energy in the energy mix to 45. But are the local communities able to follow these ambitious targets? Are they able to design for the energy transition? This was exactly the motivation of the Compose Plus project, the Compose Plus project, how to empower smaller communities, rural and insular communities, where the challenges are more critical and more intense when it comes to energy autonomy, when it comes to energy poverty, in social cohesion, and also local entrepreneurship and competitiveness. This is coming more and more critical due to the fuel rise that we face. So, Stanka explained this very well in the morning. So we, after 3 phases of projects, we have tested a model approach on how to develop sustainable energy plans. And now in this phase, we are transferring this experience to more communities. The compose model model that we have built after those 3 projects, I think it's 8 years now that we work all together, actually builds on our experience and lessons learned after developing on the ground 42 real projects in green partnership and compose. We used a bottom-up methodological approach, not top-down, and taking into account not only the technical but also socio-economic and environmental impacts. We all know that the technology is there. It's all we need to transfer our communities to more sustainable in the energy aspects exist. But what we need is to integrate this to the society. So the compose model is tested and transferable and makes a clear connection to the European Green Deal, Just Transition Fund and the REPowerEU. How to use the compose toolbox? The compose toolbox actually is a very attractive and very practical web toolbox that translates the compose model, the compose methodology, in a web-based guide, which any interesting stakeholder, mainly local authorities, can see how these projects can be developed, taking into account all the aspects that we discussed before. I will not go very in details on the model, but just I will refer that we have 6 distinctive steps, one by one. First, we need to identify which is the real problem that we want to solve and which is our ultimate goal at the strategic level. Creating a local action group which incorporates all relevant stakeholders and interest parts in order to make them share their opinions and minimize issues of conflict when the project will be implemented. Designing the local action plan, the implementation of the plan, which also includes putting the technologies on ground, commissioning and setting the installation in operation. And final, but not least, very, very importantly, how to monitor and how to evaluate what we achieved in the short, medium and long term and get back to our model in order to incorporate and improve it. We have 2 very important horizontal steps that goes through the whole process. The empowerment of local skills and capacities and making the society aware and building consensus at the citizens' level. The compose toolbox is a big library, let's say, but there we can find planning and design tools that can support RES and energy efficiency projects, databases that can help calculate and define the project baseline and the progress that you made, technical guides and other useful links, and the most recent European energy policies and supporting structures. It also includes real case studies that were developed during the previous generation of compose and green partnerships project. The toolbox was recently updated and upgraded in terms of content, and it's also available in 5 languages, not only English, but also Italian, Slovenian, Portuguese, and Greek. A quick view on the toolbox. You can find this card outside, and there is a QR code, and you can access the toolbox. The toolbox works like this. There is an interactive graph that you can navigate to different steps, depending to which level you want to view or to find more guidance. And behind each step, there is a great library of resources, as I explained before, and you can browse either technological or non-technological issues through this library. I referred before about the monitoring and evaluation. Another asset of this toolbox is that we have identified the most important indicators to monitor and measure impacts in the environment level, in the social level, energy, and economy, of course. And you can navigate to case studies in different ways. I will repeat this. This was also mentioned many times in the morning and also from the previous session. Bottom-up approach. This is what the Compose model proposes. Working with the society, the role of society to climate change mitigation is very, very important, and we note that citizens are taking more and more active role to this. And participatory approach, engaging all stakeholders that are related or affected to the project that you are going to build. Building local capacity, a very important issue. And coming to building local capacity, we are coming to Compose Plus. And this is some cases how we try to enhance planning capacities during the last generation of our project, the Compose Plus. The examples are from what we have achieved by now. And this is some of the examples with our receivers. This is some exercises and some workshops that we have done with KEDE. KEDE is the National Association of all Greek municipalities, 340 around municipalities. And we have done numerous activities, but some important one is that we have engaged the Committee of Energy and Environment Waste Management, and we have discussed with them this model approach, and this is now incorporating in their thoughts. And also we have a regional workshop on climate change adaptation and mitigation, where technical staff for the municipalities and the regions were trained on the Compose model, and now it's also applied there. Another very important activity was enhancing capacity and dialogue with local authorities. This was done in Malta, where we combined studies visits to the electric power premises, and also to a very important for the island waste landfill restoration. And then we had a close discussion and a workshop with 42 local councillors, regional officers, and state representatives. The Compose toolbox also applies to other areas of the social life. It's not only authorities and public entities. It's also engaging the business sector, investors, entrepreneurs, and institutional stakeholders. And in this aspect, we have done two, and the third is to come on Monday. The first one was to train insular chamber members on how to use the toolbox, and also to discuss about the clean energy and circular economy challenges for islands specifically, and energy efficiency, how to improve it. The second one was engaged the tourism communities, the tourism sector, applying the toolbox in clean energy projects in the tourism, where we have 65 tourism stakeholders and representatives. And the third one is about how to turn more efficient ports, with engaging ports authorities and relevant stakeholders. How we can engage the youth and train them in order to design sustainable energy projects more efficiently and using this holistic methodology. Not only technology, but also the social capital and non-technological aspects. We have trained 50 young engineers. We first navigate them to the tool and discuss step by step each of the model steps. And then we have given them a sustainable energy project to design, and there was a team competition, an evaluation and awarding process. During this process, 50 young engineers were very well equipped. And I'm not sure if this is... okay, there is a short video that is not... it doesn't play, but we can put it afterwards. What the young engineers say about the tool? It was the first time that the engineers came in front of the different elements of designing a project, instead of the engineering and the technical aspect. And they got a lot of tools with them to transfer to the others, to their colleagues. Engaging the society. This is also the new motto in the European Commission through the new Bauhaus, new European Bauhaus. And we have been in Brussels last week in the new Bauhaus Festival, transferring the toolbox and the approach itself to different stakeholders, not only in the European Commission representatives, but also to NGOs, to social science-related entities, and to citizens. And it was a very important experience, because we saw the interest of simple people, how to be more engaged and more actively in this. So this is some pictures from Brussels. We have 2,500 unique users only during Compose Plus. And we saw how this was built up during what we have all the partners achieved during this 1 year that practical ends this month. So this is our partnership. Follow us in the Sustainable Energy Planning Toolbox. I will not go through this. We are, our laboratory is very active in clean energy and sustainable tourism and mobility projects. This is one list of our recent projects. And thank you for the attention. We don't have time for the video, I think, but we will send you a link so you can see.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I possibly can for you. All right. Hello from the Association of Local Councils from Malta. I'm going to be talking to you today about the future perspectives of the Sustainable Energy Planning Toolbox. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about the present situation in Malta. So we're seeing quite an active uptake of PV panels and solar energy as a renewable energy source, especially by local councils. This is because they're driven by incentives to align their project goals with the low carbon development strategy and the European Green Deal as well. So we're heading sort of in the right direction. I'll show you some examples now. So this is some solar panels installed in a village called Halsafi in the south of the island. And these solar panels that you can see here are powering the pumps to irrigate the shrubs on the roundabout and also power the pump and lighting on this roundabout as well. And in Burgu, which is in the Grand Harbour area, these solar panels were installed on the local building administered by the local council just last month. And then this month, they'll be installing solar panels on their local council offices as well. So, in the future, we would like to see increased positive perceptions of renewable energy sources, not just solar power, but we would like to see a wider use of solar power capture and storage. We benefit from 300 days of sunshine a year on average, so solar power is definitely a very good option for us. But there are some public perceptions regarding reliability, simply because on those cloudy days, we're affected both emotionally and energetically. If you're the kind of person who has a solar power water heater, you won't have sufficient water for your family to shower on those cloudy days. So it becomes a feedback cycle. We also need increased storage for the energy that we're producing from solar. A lot of our solar power generated is lost because we don't have anywhere to store it. And we also have it causes fluctuations on the grid, which means that we're not maybe handling the power that we're generating as efficiently as we can. But if we can store our solar power, though, we can use it to move towards more electric mobility, which will have the long-lasting effect of reducing our air pollution and increasing the quality of life of residents on the island. This is very important because Malta has a real love affair with the car. The photo here on the left is the junction that I merge onto on my commute to work. And the photo here on the right is a traffic jam that happened earlier on in the year where people were stuck in their cars for 3 hours, in this one stretch of road. We have a very large amount of our land space is dedicated to road infrastructure, and we have one of the lowest amounts of public space per capita in the EU for residents, dedicated to the use of residents. So obviously, all of this contributes to a lot of air pollution, which impacts our health and our quality of life. So there are positive changes taking place, though. At the end of 2021, there were 5,000 registered electric vehicles in Malta, and with help for financial incentives from the government, by the end of April 2022, there was 8,500 registered electric vehicles. I don't know what that number stands at today, but I do know it has increased. We're also seeing our public transport sector is increasingly electric. They recently introduced electric buses, and we also have shared mobility in the form of electric bicycles for hire as well. And this photo on the right here is my partner, our local councils. Some of them have electric scooters that residents can go and borrow for free. You can use them for the day, or you can use them to just tour around the area. I think the best thing about this is that it creates a non-committal entry point to trying out these electric micromobility options. So actually, as a result of this, and because I didn't have to sign up to any subscription service to be able to use it, I ended up buying my own electric scooter, and I use it to commute and get around now. So I avoid that traffic jam that you saw earlier. However, all of these electric vehicles need to be powered, right? And we're relying a lot on solar energy and the energy that we import from Sicily as well. So I think the benefits of the sustainable energy toolbox for us is really looking at diversifying the renewable energy sources that we use and increasing the positive perceptions of things like particularly wind power. There are currently a few wind farm projects that are approved in Malta, but none of them are at a phase where they can produce electricity. So it would be nice to see more motivation, I guess, to kind of get those up and running. And other than diversifying, it would be really nice for the people who have who are able to use the Compose toolbox in their project planning to be able to develop an understanding enough to disseminate that knowledge to the people that they represent. I think this is really important, especially in Malta, because the grassroots movements that we have in Malta are very powerful. The benefit of being a very small nation is that grassroots movements can very quickly attract national attention and the attention of policymakers. And it would be really great for them to be able to develop outreach programs that are accessible for a wide range of communities and demographics. You never know who you're talking to and what they would be capable of if they were equipped with this knowledge. And again, this will help to drive the demand for more renewable energy sources in Malta as well. And just finishing on a little quote, awareness is the greatest agent for change. So really being able to take all of the resources that are really incredibly grouped together by the toolbox, and I think that's one of the biggest benefits, is that it takes a lot of information that would take a lot of time to gather, puts it all in one place and makes it very easy and logical to access. And if the people who have the power to be able to implement projects can understand that enough to be able to educate others about it, I mean, we'll be in a fantastic position for the future in terms of renewable energy. That's everything from me. Thanks.
So just an addition from my side, because Zoe brings some memories from the workshop that the local councils of Malta very successfully organized when we were there. So two things. The one is that we used the toolbox to design the key aspects of a wind farm in sea wind farm. So we practically use the toolbox to show people for projects that they are very interested in. And the second one that I want to mention is that the toolbox, it's about sustainable energy, clean energy projects, but actually the steps of the model, it's applicable, and we have tested also in other type of development projects like sustainable mobility or any other development project that the local authorities would like to apply in their communities.
Okay, so two comments now, because you gave me the opportunity. The first one is that we organized also in Brussels a webinar, a workshop, and we included the project Compose Plus as a good practice in the very, policy of the cohesion policy of the European Union for the next years. So it was, presented as a very good example. So this is one that I would like to say. The second is regarding your presentation. The idea, and I spoke with Professor Tsoutsous before, is not, to, let's say, transform vehicles to electrical, but not to use vehicles at all, or use only, public transport. And I know people in islands, and especially I know one that really to go to the kiosk to buy something, 300 meters, this is Cyprus, they take the car to go there, you understand? So
yeah,
the idea is not to use at all.
I agree entirely. But it's one thing to try and reduce the amount of air pollution that we're producing, and a whole other thing to try and change a country's culture. The car culture in Malta, as someone who's had the privilege of living in a few countries around the world, I find it to be comparable to that of the likes of America. There's really hardly anyone walks, and as part of my role, I've been exploring this a lot, and I'm finding that the infrastructure really doesn't accommodate for people to walk in Malta. Like, for example, you'll be walking along a path thinking you're heading towards your destination, and all of a sudden there'll be a wall, which sounds really bizarre, but it honestly happens. Or the path just ends, and then there's a main road, and there's nowhere for you to cross. There's no logical direction for you to take. And the amount of time it takes you to navigate that, not just geographically, but also emotionally, it's stressful when you're in that situation, especially because the way that our urban areas are designed is really contributing to this urban heat island effect. So in the months of July, August, during the hours of, say, 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., it's very difficult to walk comfortably simply because the streets are so hot. But I do like the idea of leading by example, which is why I travel by bus, electric scooter, and bicycle. I absolutely believe that it is possible to live without a car, but it is very, very difficult to convince people of that, even when I'm showing them in person. But if you do have a solution, please let me know, because I would love to be able to change their minds.
Okay, thank you.
But changing behavior, it's not only for the people. It's also for the politicians and the designers, the developers. For some years before, we were designing for cars, and now we are trying to start designing for cities and for places and people together. So this is a huge change of mentality and behavior in parallel, and it can happen because what we saw in Malta, it was what was in Crete some years ago. But now we see that things are progressing, and the change of behavior of people is coming, but very slowly, and you need to invest. And need to invest a lot to change the behavior to people and prove them that you are designing the right way and with them and not without them, which is very important.
Thank you, and hello everyone, buongiorno. My name is Juri Caperko. I'm from Regional Energy Agency North from Croatia. We are a partner here in Compose Plus, partner as a giver, and I will be your host at this session today. So let me introduce you our speakers for today, our panelists. Lučka Kajfeš-Bogataj, member of a Peace Nobel Prize winner team, professor from University of Ljubljana and member of Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. Here is with me Emilia Zanchina. Emilia is the Dean of the Temple University of Rome. Achille Bellucci. Achille is President of UNSEM Lazio. It is Union of Mountain Local Authorities. And here is with us Elisabetta Turella. He will be together with Achille in front of UNSEM Lazio. Simone Taddei, our partner receiver from Consorzio Oltrepo Mantovano. It is Union of Rural Municipalities from Northern Italy. Stefano Lucarini. Stefano is from Tonucci and Partners. It is a law company with a wide range of activities related to energy and building construction. And Alessia Icagnoli, Vice President of Green Utility. This is a company whose main focus is on renewables and energy efficiency in buildings. So we will start with hot topic. Well, during our stay here in Rome, Sergio and I talked recently about the Rome because it was empty during the COVID-19 situation. So we talked about the air, about the emissions and pollution. It was clear air. If you see right now outside, there are a lot of cars that are polluting our air. There is also a war in Ukraine, some other circumstances that also made an impact on energy system and climate surroundings. So there is a IPCC, that is created to provide policymakers with regular scientific assessment on climate change. And here is our ambassador of the Compose and Compose Plus project. Lučka is with us 10 years, and I would like to see, because IPCC report, last IPCC report was released in the February 2022. I would like to see where are we now. You mentioned something, but can we go in more detail, just a little bit deeply, how we are standing right now?
Well, in terms of climatic development, climatic data, it is pretty much sure that we will cross the 1.5 limit, which is considered safe. So there's theoretically very little room to reach or to not go beyond. But as I mentioned in my presentation, it should happen in the next 10 years or so. So it's really not enough time to make, I don't know, long-term plans. We should go into the action right now. And it much depends also. It depended, for instance, in last, if I go back 1 year, situation in US was not very optimum because we need US and we need China to cooperate fully, not to be in the antagonistic relationship. And of course, Russia would be also excellent to cooperate, but now the world is politically, unfortunately, more divided than it was before. Things turned for better in US regarding climate change policy, but at the same time we have Ukraine problem, which in my view also make very clear how the big gap between what politicians were promising and how they changed the tune after the Ukraine war. Suddenly coal is important, suddenly we will not stop using coal, it is strategic, it is national, it is self-sufficiency, all sorts of wording that points that probably climate change will be postponed, the action. This is our worst fear. So the message of science is we should not postpone it. We should really see the world cooperating, but where is now the European Union or the role of Europe? We should be a model example for that cooperation for action. So our how should I say, our role is now double, not just to be on track of what we promised, like Fit for 55, but we should also be example, a good example for practice to US, to China, to the rest of the world. So I guess this is crucial that Europe moves on in spite of whatever is happening. So this is more not just science, it's already in the context of current policy. We cannot divide that anymore, I guess. But as I mentioned, what is also clear in the report that concerns mitigation, that bottom-up approaches are extremely important, because if there's no time to wait for an optimum recipe from the top. Of course, this is a combination. Political decisions are important. They should be really wise, and they should also be more, how should I say, we should unify more than one sector, because climate policy is not something that has to do just with energy policy. It's something that has to do with agriculture, with financing, with health. So it's I don't know if local authorities or member states are aware of that. We need really action that is complemented by all the sectors. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that we shouldn't observe energy and climate just as a sector. We should involve them through all sectors as a horizontal, not as a pillar, as a horizontal.
So we just last sentence, we may face the organizational problem, because in many countries you have energy agencies, And then on the other side are agricultural societies that have to adapt to climate change, for instance. And usually this is separated, they don't know each other, but solutions lie very well in between. So this is a message to the local level, to cooperate with people who are traditionally did not cooperate, but they have to do it now.
Yeah, to cooperate horizontally, but also vertically.
Yeah.
Multi-level governance is also important to cooperate between local, regional, and the national level. So I think then we will be on a good track, and I think that we are. European Union set very ambitious goals until 2050 to be the first continent that is climate neutral, and with a midterm goal with energy and CO2 emission savings for 55% until 2030. But here is Simone as a representative and Akhil as a representatives of municipalities here in Italy. Is there a political will to achieve that goals? I'm wondering whether increasing energy efficiency and use of renewable energy sources is on a political agenda in your regions and municipalities that you are represent. What do you think?
Thank you, Jurica. And just let me thank also Stanka on behalf of the lead partner, and Sergio and all the Kyoto Club team, and all of our partners for today's meeting and this opportunity to have this very, very interesting discussion all together. Concerning Jurica's question, just a few words about our territory. Consorzio Oltre Po Mantovano is a consortium of 19 small and medium-sized municipalities. We are a rural area, very rural area, and so we share problems and challenges with other territories and areas, such as, for example, the area in which our Portuguese partner is working. All that said, we believe, together with all of our mayors and councillors, that the main step to face and address energy efficiency and renewable energy production is to have a overall strategy for our area. So to this extent, during the pandemic period, we took advantage, let's say, and we elaborated with a strong bottom-up approach a document which then has been approved by all of our municipalities, which is called Consorzio Oltre Po Mantovano Strategic Development Plan 2021-2027. And this document addresses several topics for the development of our area, such as culture and tourism development, social policies and welfare, transport, and finally a specific topic on environment, energy, and waste management. This strategic plan takes into account, of course, European strategies, national strategies, and also our Lombardy region strategies in the field of energy and climate change adaptation. Our plan is to achieve in this programming period some main goals. First of all, to realize a joint sustainable energy a joint SECAP, okay? So in the framework of the Covenant of Mayors initiative, all of our municipalities signed the, let's say, the first version of the Covenant of Mayors, which included only the mitigation measures. Now we want them to sign also the new Covenant of Mayors to address also adaptation to climate change measures. We are waiting for to find the right measure to fund the drafting of the SECAP, since we are almost 20 municipalities, so it's a huge effort, and we need external experts because our organization does not have the necessary expertise. Then, for example, other actions to be achieved are the preservation of biodiversity, which is let's say, horizontal aspect, which is very important too. Actions to improve the management of waste at local level, based on the 3 R's, reduce, recycle, and reuse. Waste management is, at least in our area, strictly linked also to the energy efficiency measures. Since we are in a rural area, we have lots of farms, mainly related to livestock. So we have lots of waste from farms, and that waste, instead of being considered waste, can become a resource to produce electricity, heat, and, for example, also fuels, biogas or biomethane, although a problem with local communities, at least in our area, is that if a mayor just talks about a biogas or biomethane plant, what we see is that immediately citizens start to complain because they do not want the plant near their municipality, near their houses. And so from this point of view, I think that Compost Plus approach is very interesting to be used, because it takes into account also a strong work with the local stakeholders, so with the local action groups and so on, because we need to, as local authorities, we need to also, let's say, raise awareness among citizens and private companies, farmers, about the need to use waste in a smart way, because right now in our area the disposal from these livestock farms, which are very big, intensive farms, has become absolutely unsustainable. And so this is also a change of behaviors that we must achieve among citizens. And to this extent, the fourth measure that our strategic plan foresees are educational campaigns and awareness-raising campaigns towards citizens, and most of all towards students, school. Okay, so to start from the younger generation. In addition to this strategic plan, for us it's very important to cooperate in the framework of European funded projects. First of all, to learn new methodologies, to acquire the knowledge to use new tools, and also to have some more economic resources to do pilot actions, to do pilot investments, besides of the national and regional funding. And to this, just I'm going to finish. And to this extent, we are now participating to, of course, Compost Plus. Then we have another capitalization project by the Interreg Med, which is called Edu Footprint Plus, which is also a very interesting project about the improvement of the environmental footprint of public buildings with LCA approach. So very interesting also. And then another Interreg Med project called InCircle, which is about the promotion of circular economy measures in the tourist promotion of the area. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's great. This is always good to make synergies between the projects. I know it because we are also partners on Edu Footprint Plus project, so well done. This is also good to make decision makers aware that they have to act on the local level, so it is always good if they commit on that Covenant of Mayors initiative, so it is some kind of guarantee that they will be active on that field and to reach set goals by the European Union. So it is here is President of Union of Mountain Local Authorities. This organization is special because they are such as colleagues from Greek, from islands. This is really specific. These are really specific authorities, public authorities, because of their geographical position. So, Mr. Achille, can you tell us about issues you are facing with because of your geographic position?
Hello, everybody. I will try to answer the questions posed. I will read the intervention. UNCEM Nazionale and also UNCEM Lazio are clear on the extent of the challenges that have arisen on the climate and the need to reduce CO2 emissions. We protect the most important areas of Italy, which are the only deposit of priceless environmental reserves, the mountain areas. Here the air and water, wood and nature are still not treated as in urban and peripheral areas. And we can even move on their protection and enhancement, both to initiate a repopulation phenomenon that we have called controversial. We have two concrete and priority objective that we will try to implement with the PNRR and the new generation, and concern the energy communities and the green communities on two fronts: methanization and the production of electricity from water, the hydroelectric system. About 1,000 Italian municipalities are methane-free. That is, while we work to ban the use of coal, propane gas, and even methane, we have municipalities that are even further behind. Then, since the water that comes from our mountains fall, that is without lifting costs, we think with minimal expenditure of production, of producing hydroelectric energy. All this is part of the activities we are promoting with national and regional funding. We will keep you informed. Thank you for attention and good continuation.
Thank you. So, okay, let's hear from the field how to use local resources. Stefano, please feel free to mention your cooperation with local public authorities, local authorities. Are there any issues, and how is this going on the field? So it is important to talk about it to make the politicians aware of implementation of such a project, but how does it work on the field?
Okay, exactly how many hours we have it?
We have
No,
10, 15
apart from
minutes.
joke.
10, 15 minutes.
First of all, I think it's better to, okay, I'm a lawyer, therefore with the local authority, it's more a fight than a cooperation often, because we advise and assist developers, buyers, and any other part of the chain of the renewable energy project plants in Italy. Now, you have to know that in Italy, we had a very jumpy road up to now. We started in the beginning of the century with a huge increase of the renewable energy, and this has been due to the huge incentives. Let's say that during 2006 to 2012, more or less, Italy has become the most attractive country in the world, and the investment, especially in solar plants, boomed. But this triggered a number of situations and issues. The first one, of course, was the huge increase in the cost of the subsidies. The local government and the national government has recognized that was too much. And this too much has triggered to a reaction that has been dramatic for the market, because they suddenly stopped the most interesting and attractive incentive, that was the one related to the PV plant on agricultural land. Okay? Italy, as many of the Mediterranean countries, is a place where agricultural land is by nature the most part of the country, and also a country when the sun is quite satisfactory in terms of irradiation. As such, the combination was that the most effective way to do a solar plant was to install in agricultural land. The second problem was the land usage, because the concept that, I'm in disagreement with this, but that has been used was that using the land for PV plants impeded to use it for agricultural usage. That was the natural vocation of this land. I think it is untrue, because in Italy you have something like 80,000 hectares abandoned per year. And just to give another figure, to reach the target of the PNIEC, the 60 or something gigawatt of solar installation, it is enough to use 1% of the land in Italy. So I think it's not a real topic. But anyway, the concept passed. And as such, we had 10 years of market basically frozen. To develop and install a solar plant in Italy was a nightmare. You can consider term for development between 5 to 8 years, with no certainty of reaching the goal. Okay? And when we're talking about 30 to 40 to 50 million of investment, you can imagine that nobody wants to risk so much. Okay? But, and I'm trying to address the question, something is changing, hopefully. The government, due to the number of factors that everybody knows, like pandemic, like Ukrainian crisis, and the necessity to become energy independent, at least to try to become energy independent, has started from a couple of years to issue a number of provisions that helps and simplify the installation of renewable energy plants, especially the solar ones. Just to give you some information. In 2012, as I told you, the incentives for the agricultural mounted PV plant have been excluded, prohibited. Now, since 2021, these incentives are now allowed under the condition that is no longer a PV plant, but it is an agrivoltaic plant. I heard a few minutes before that someone has introduced this topic. I think that it is one of the most interesting solutions to help the local acceptance of this kind of combination, especially for rural areas. The way to revitalize the rural areas where energy poverty, as well as the trade war, as well as the climate change, are impacting in terms of capability for the farmers to stay on the market, the combination with the solar plants can be the real solution and can be a win-win solution in the sense that, in various order, you can grant an additional income to the farmers. You can help the farmers to protect the culture for extreme climate event. You can help the farmer to also obtain a better result of the crops, because the shading caused by the modules help the crops to grow with larger leaves in order to catch the sunrises. Plus, the shading reduces the water necessity. On the other side, the vegetation beneath the panels make a cooler environment, and funny fact, the modules do not like hot. Okay, they work very well in a specific range of temperature. Therefore, the cooler temperature created by the vegetation helps also the panel that are more efficient. On top, the vegetation also reduces the dust that is on the panel as a typical enemy, because it reduces the capability to catch the sunrises. Plus, the water that is normally used to wash the panel can be recycled to irrigate the land beneath. So, in a word, it's a really, really good situation. And incredibly, our government has agreed with that. And how? First of all, has removed the prohibition to catch incentives. Now, an agrivoltaic plant can receive incentives, and the resilience plan provides 1.1 billion of euro as a amount of money to be destined to this purpose. Plus, has also introduced a number of simplification, meaning that now you can authorize in Italy a 20 megawatt agrivoltaic plant with a simplified procedure to be done at a municipality level and with no necessity to the environmental impact assessment, meaning reduction of the 5 to 8 years to 6 months, okay? Which is exceptional. There is also another small topic that I would like to say, that if this agrivoltaic plant is located nearby an industrial area within a radius of 500 meters, you can have this simplified procedure with no threshold of power, meaning that theoretically you can try to authorize your plant of 300 megawatts, okay, meaning a region more or less, with a simplified procedure. That is a complete change of perspective for the government and for the possibility to exploit this kind of combined technology in the local areas.
Thank you, Stefano. You have a lot of natural resources here, and it is important to use it smart. It is important to note that inflation is rapidly growing, and we don't have so much time to think about the investments and the projects, and we don't have so much time to develop it and so on. We have to act right now and invest it as soon as possible. So I'd like our colleague Alessia, how do you see future investments in rural areas?
I think that Stefano show you very well the guideline in agriculture and maybe obviously in rural area. The only thing is that our government didn't issue the real guidelines right now. We are waiting for maybe 5 to 6 months, so we're still waiting. So to answer your question, we are working for a private investment fund from Canada. Is decided to enter into the Italian market, and we are their co-development manager. and they invested in 140 megawatt of photovoltaic plant in Apulia, close to Foggia and nearby Foggia and Bari, a very rural area. And we are supporting them in finding the real agrivoltaic project, because the guidelines are not issues, so it means that we are going to study with the University of Salento and some other professional in order to build a tailor-made solution for agrivoltaic. That means that you have to put the solar panel in a higher from the soil, and because under the solar panel you can cultivate maybe aromatic herbs, so plantation that need that don't grow higher, and then you can also allow grazing of sheep, and maybe to put the arnie, I don't know in English the translation of arnie, for the bees, for the bees. How?
Bee houses.
Bee houses, okay. And so the investment fund approved these projects. So we presented to the region Apulia, but what we are still waiting, we are waiting since 2019, so it's too much time. And we also have problem with the local authorities. Sorry if I see you represent a local authorities, some municipalities, because they are not very keen on support this kind of projects. But we are working on this transition process. Our government is pushing on this, so I think we are very close to reach a very good process in the transition.
Yeah, a lot of public authorities have a lot of daily business and cannot deal with all these activities we are working on in the problems we are facing with. So this is maybe an answer why sometimes they are not cooperating as they have to. Yeah, this is correct. This is correct. Yeah.
Tell you some other things to the colleague from Portugal. I don't see her. Your colleague, okay, anyway. We are Green Utility work in 2008 for a top quality Italian wine producer. We built a solar energy mobility system with a battery and a panel, and they are the possibility to recharge jeeps, bikes, and what else, scooters, in order to do around the site camp. And this is a nice project. I would like to show you, but we have no time to do it, so it's just a quick contribute. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We have just few more minutes. We do a lot of investments that came out through the Compose and Compose Plus project. In the previous project, we developed some pilots and energy investment plans, and through these plans and pilots, there are a number of investments that are a result of this testing. I can say that that some projects are already capitalized during the Compose project, and now when we are transferring the knowledge to our receivers, it is proved that the project is sustainable, and all previous projects that we are dealing with. So I would like to ask, do we have enough people or highly educated, hard-working people to work on that project? I would like to invite Dean from the Temple University to provide us with the fresh information about the programs they have on the university, and can we have enough people to work on these projects and activities?
Thank you very much. Yes, at Temple, of course, we are committed to sustainability, and as a public university with the main seat in Philadelphia and campuses in Rome and Japan, we try to make sure that this commitment to sustainability goes across. So we do have programs in environmental study. On the one hand, we have a program that looks at environmental science, so it is a science-intensive program to furnish, in fact, young professionals who would be working on the scientific aspect. But we also have environmental studies that are housed in our College of Liberal Arts. In other words, not as much the scientific aspect as the political aspect, the activism aspect, the mobilization aspect. Because as mentioned earlier, what we face now with the current situation is that environmental issues are on the back burner because of security issues. And we're talking again about coal, and we're talking about security, as if we're not sitting on a time bomb in a very urgent matter to deal with. So we do have this programming that looks at specific majors so that students get degrees and they could seek careers in this sector, but more broadly we're also looking at everybody else, because we're committed to raising a generation of environmentally aware young adults, because we do need this generation to take action on the scientific front, to take action on the political front. We do need this generation to be committed and to be loud, to be out there. So in addition to specific programs, we do have environmental courses that go across disciplines, so that in every program that we have, there is some element of raising this awareness. To give you an example, we teach courses such as, in art, we have courses on recycling paper. So that an art student gets confronted with the problematic of reusable goods and consumerism. In sociology, we have courses on eating cultures, the idea of slow food, the idea of supply chain management that looks at local producers. We do have courses that look at migration and the environment, and migration caused because of environmental needs, such as lack of water in the Middle East, for example, or scarce resources, and the displacement that happens due to that. So our commitment certainly is to furnish scientists, to furnish activists, to furnish professionals who could be seeking careers in specific organizations, but more importantly, to educate all of our student population on environmentally conscious behavior. So for example, we have our programs that go abroad. We have developed resources under a label Global Green, so that every student can calculate their carbon footprint, can get suggestions when they travel, how to reduce their carbon footprint, how their individual behavior can contribute to that. So I do think that we are very guilty as a generation in leaving young people in a situation of urgency. Because for political and other reasons we have not acted in a timely manner. But it is also important what we can do as educators is at least to relay that urgency, so that when we're leaving this in their hands, they're equipped with the knowledge and the motivation to address it.
Thank you, Emilia. Yes, of course. Okay. Here you go.
Well, congratulations, first of all, for all the work you've been doing. Is that an exception in the US landscape? Or are other public/private universities following the same lines? Thank you.
Thank you very much. An excellent question. Well, if we have to prioritize, given the context in the US, of course, a lot of attention today is committed to diversity issues. But I think that you would hardly find a university in the US that does not do something environmentally oriented. So certainly large big public universities all have environmental programs. For sure. Certainly, there's a sustainability plan of every institution, and this has also made its way into accreditation standards. So things such as, not printing materials, using digital materials, having separate waste, and so forth, collection of batteries. This is something that is hardly absent anywhere. Certainly, there could be degrees to which each institution is active, but fortunately, the programming is also driven by a demand. We do see an increasing number of young people who are environmentally aware and look at these programs that are really attractive for the interdisciplinary ones, in addition to the scientific ones. So even if an institution is guilty of not doing enough, I think the student demand would drive them in that direction regardless. They simply need to address that demand.
Thank you. Do we have any other question? Or we can discuss it during the lunch? Oh, we have one. Please, can you please come here to the microphone?
Not really a question, but more of a comment. I'm from Malta. We do have courses in Malta that go into the scientific aspect of environmentalism, and so forth. I am a product of those courses. And in fact, the demand is going up. With my year, it was the highest turnout. We were a class of 30. Small, but relative to Malta, it's good for the courses. But yeah, I mean, it's very important. I'll speak for myself. Getting a job was very easy with those courses because every company and every government department needs a scientist, and the political aspect as well of the environmentalism scene. So yeah, thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, indeed, and the European Union has helped a lot, even at the level of public administration, by demanding that any new project has an environmental and regulatory aspect, impact assessment. So that has forced even, I'm a native of Bulgaria, so even countries such as Bulgaria, who have not been champions of sound environmental policy historically, now are forced, because of European directives, to do environmental impact assessment on any new project, any investment project, any construction project. So there's a lot, as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot that the EU can do, for sure, to overcome political resistance.
Thank you for your comment. We are proud to have you in our consortium as such a young man working with us. So we really appreciate your effort in this project. Any other question? Not for now. Okay. I would conclude this discussion. I think it was very good and comprehensive. We don't have so much time to go deeply inside. And I would like to refer to the war in Ukraine that brought new problems that the world is facing right now. The problem with the gas supply, the problem with delivery of oil, prices of electricity and gas are going extremely up, and I think that we have to act right now, and I would like to ask Lučka to conclude with final motivating words. Please, Lučka, you are our ambassador, so...
Okay, it's a difficult situation, yes, to be very optimistic, but still I am, and what I would suggest is actually that all these partial results are excellent, but it's time to really set targets, because in some municipality you're mentioning you're doing that and this, but is there a target set, like minus 55 or minus 50 for my municipality on fossil fuels. Because we need exactly that. Okay, university is more sustainable as it used to be, but no, we need to cut it 55. So it will be questionable whether a professor can fly to meeting, because this is a huge footprint. So are these concrete goals set? Because without that, we are too slow. We move in right direction, but what we need is light speed right now. This is my final thought for this.